Shalom. So today we're going to talk about unlawful sex. We're going to talk about the biblical context of unlawful sex and the cultural context of unlawful sex. Then we're going to put a difference between the clean and the unclean thing, right? But before we get into what is actually unlawful sex, first we're going to talk about what is not unlawful sex. So let us go to the book of Leviticus chapter 18 and Exodus chapter 22 and verse 16. It says, "And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife." So if an unmarried man meets an unmarried woman, a single woman, right, and he talks his way and had sex with her, it says he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So, what we're understanding, according to the Bible, if two unmarried people have sex, it is okay. There is no judgment, there is no punishment. It's okay. As opposed to this culture, is that when two unmarried or two single people have sex, that is fornication, according to the culture, right? No. Coming back to the biblical context, if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Now the question is, after you lay with this woman, how do you endow this woman to be your wife? Now, say for example, I have a daughter. This man had sex with my daughter. Now she is with him at his house. What is his duty according to the law? He needs to come to me and pay me according to the dowry, right? So that's how you endow the woman to be your wife. You go to the father and you pay for the service of the daughter. For example, if I have my home, I have my daughters here, and they assist me with the cleaning, taking care of my animals, and so forth. When you take away my daughter, you take away two, you take away a pair of hands, helping hands. So she would be responsible for taking care of certain chores in the home. Now you took that away from me. You need to pay me something for what you're taking, right? Now, when you have sex with a woman and you go to the state, you do your formal Roman marriage, you pay for your license, you pay for whatever you need to pay for in a Roman marriage. Guess what? You still haven't paid your dowry to the father. You're paying your dowry to the state. Marriage is not an affair of the state, it is a matter of the heart. So yes, even though you're wearing your ring, you wore your white gown and whatever it is, you go through all that process. You have not paid to the father. So guess what? Even though you put a ring on her finger, you do all of these things, you know what the father can still do? Verse 17 says, "If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins." So guess what? Even though you go through all the formal Roman marriage, the father, can still go and make that marriage null and void. So we're taking out this part out of it. Everyone wants to do the formal Roman marriage and not realizing how they're destroying the law with the customs of this Western society. The dowry price must be paid to the father, not to the state. So what we're understanding is that unlawful sex is not a single man and a single woman having sexual intercourse, because all they need to do is just carry on with what the law says. The man needs to go to the father and pay the dowry, and she is legitimately his wife. Now, a lot of us believe that it's the vows that we take at these um, ceremonial marriages, but in this culture, that determines, okay, wife and husband. But that's not according to the Bible. It is the sex that makes you one flesh. You don't go to an altar, make vows, and you become one flesh. It's not possible. You can go to the altar, make all the vows you want, and guess what? The father can still cancel that marriage, cancel that, whatever it is. The sex is what makes you become one flesh. Samson, this woman was to be with Samson, and the father gave her to another guy. When Samson came back, he couldn't be with that woman. It wasn't because of the vows that were made, it was the actual laying with the person. So the sex itself is what makes the marriage, it's what makes you one flesh, not the vows you take. And even in the New Testament, we can see that the same custom was exercised. But as you know, people always magnify the culture more than the law itself. For example, Matthew chapter 18 and verse 22. Matthew chapter 1 and verse 19. It says, Then Joseph, her husband, notice the Bible, the Greek New Testament calls Joseph the husband of Mary, right? It says, Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. Now, why? Why was all of this taking place? Let's read the verse above. It says, Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. So guess what? Because they did not go through the customs of the formal marriages at that time, they now thought it was fornication. But the Bible calls Joseph the husband. It was not the same for the people, right? Let's go to let's go to verse 20 and see if the Most High approved this marriage or he doesn't recognize it. It says, But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife. So the angel of the Most High understood that Mary was the wife. Why? They were having sex. They did not take a vow. They did not go to the altar dressed in white with wedding bells. They were having sex. They just did not do it after the customs of what the people were doing at the time. It's just the same. No, you have sex with a person, you don't do the formal Roman marriage, guess what? They want to kick you out of the church. I know somebody who's going through the same thing today. She's an Adventist, she's pregnant, she's now kicked out of her church. It's the same custom, it's nothing new, it's the same. So, what we're seeing is that once two unmarried people have sex together, it is lawful. So now that we understand what is not unlawful sex, it's going to make it easier for us to understand what is unlawful sex. Again, we're putting a difference between the Western Christian culture and the biblical context. So let us go to the book of Leviticus chapter 18 And we're going to start at verse 1. We're not going to read the entire verse, right? It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do." So where you're coming from, don't take those customs here. It says, "And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you," where I'm going to bring you now, "shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances." So you're coming from Egypt, bondage, don't do what they were doing. Now you're going to a land with some profane people, don't follow after their custom, right? It says, "Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinance to walk therein. I am the Lord your God." So now we're going to get into unlawful sex. What sex is unlawful according to the Bible? Now you have, according to the customs of Egypt and Canaan and those people, you had a lot of incestuous marriage, right? So you had one where you would do it in honor of the gods, and then another one is for pleasure, right? So the Most High does not recognize those types of marriage, so He doesn't want us to participate in those things, whether in honor of serving their gods or for pleasure. Don't walk after their customs. So we're going to see that having sex with your mother is unlawful according to the Bible. Having sex with your stepmother is unlawful according to the Bible. Having sex with your sister, just like David's son, right, is unlawful. Having sex with your granddaughter is unlawful. Having sex with your stepsister is unlawful. Having sex with your aunt is unlawful. Having sex with your aunt in law is unlawful according to the Bible. Having sex with your daughter in law is unlawful. Having sex with your sister in law is unlawful. Having sex with a mother and the daughter is unlawful. And sometimes it boosts the ego of a man to say, Yes, I laid with her, the mother, I walked through the entire family. No, those are unlawful sex. You don't do that. Not because it is in your power, because a lot of women fell to these things, wherein, especially coming from great grandmother days coming up, the man had the power. Um, they do these things, then they start molesting the daughter or doing this, or the mother keeps her mouth shut because the man was the sole provider. She was under that control, where she would turn a blind eye to these things, and then it opens doors in the lives of these young women, and it carries on for generation. So guess what? The molestation, that family of daughters, they keep being molested until someone actually can break that cycle, right? So he says, don't do these things. Don't use your power in that way, right? You don't have to do that. So yes, a mother and a daughter is an unlawful sex. Having sex with a mother and her granddaughter is also unlawful. Having sex with a sister and another sister, just like we saw with Jacob and with Rachel and Leah. He deceived Jacob because the arrangement and the agreement was that he would take the younger sister. Their customs was that the older sister had to be married first, right? He knew that. Then why would he agree on it? That's deception, because the agreement was that the man would take the younger daughter, and his dowry price would be he would work for you for 7 years. That would be his dowry price, right? Now, what the next thing that this can cause or generate is, it does what? It destroys the relationship between the sister, because jealousy is going to rise up by nature. It's natural. The jealousy is going to come up, and then you're going to separate two sisters. So the love that would be there between two sisters now become like a competition. They can't stand each other. They're jealous. That's not according to our customs. And as we mentioned earlier about the sex, as you notice, when he got the second sister, he started having sex with her before he completed the years. Once he completed the 7 years and got the big sister, he then was then given the smaller sister, and he worked 7 years after that, right? So it was the sex that they did, not a formal Roman marriage, right? So that was just to throw that in there. So yes, it's not good to take two sisters in their lifetime. If one sister dies and you go on to the next sister, then that's not so bad. But in the lifetime, you don't do that. You don't generate that type of jealousy to divide people, right? A woman and her menstrual is unlawful sex. Whether it be the heavy bleeding or the spotting, you have to wait until everything is cleansed, until she's clean, before you can go with her. So that would be unlawful even in the spotting, right? A woman that is married or betrothed. So once she's promised to someone, or she's actually having sex with someone, like I mentioned earlier about Samson, the father had given the daughter away to somebody else. So when Samson wanted to live with her, he couldn't because she was given to somebody else already. It was the sex, not the vows that they made, not the oath, the marriage license from the state. No, the sex. Men with men is unlawful. Bestiality is unlawful sex. So one thing you'll never find under the umbrella of unlawful sex is a single man and a single woman. There's nothing unlawful about it when it comes to the Bible, but according to this culture, it is unlawful. So we have to always discern where we're speaking from when we talk about what is unlawful or what is lawful. Because some things might be unlawful in this culture that is lawful in the biblical culture. And what happens is you find most of these teachers or pastors or priests or whatever they call themselves, they teach, they impose the cultural context and the Bible, and it seems as if they're actually teaching the law, but they're teaching the interpretation of this culture, imposing it on the Bible. So now it's hard to make a difference between what is clean, what is unclean. Something might be unclean to this society that is clean to the Most High, and something might be clean to the Most High that is unclean to this society. So we have to always draw a line, and that line is our line of discernment. So I hope this gives a clear understanding of what is unlawful sex and what is not unlawful sex. Shalom.